Kamenash, who was unfortunately unable to make it today after being investigated for trademark infringement by International Olympic Committee. I'm sorry, President Kathy, I did not tell you this before. Before departing, Todd was able to convince his imaginary friend, Scott Cavendish, to discuss the 2021 International Athletics Competition. Like the presentation, Scott is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to or comparison with real-life events are wholly coincidental. Inferences reflecting actual persons or events during the presentation may be due to a false perception by the viewer. Let's welcome Scott Cavendish.
Thank you, Acid. I really appreciate it. Wonderful introduction. My name is Scott Cavendish. I bear no resemblance to some other guy you might know who knows some of you. He tells me things about you in secret. I'll keep him secret, probably. So I'm here to talk to you about, I'm not scared to say it because I'm not a real person, the Olympics. Let's talk about the Olympics. Omaha. Omaha! 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 Thank you. This is a picture just before a couple of you were born in 1896. That's what the internet tells me. Back in 1896 in Athens, there were 9 sports, 43 events, and 280 athletes in all sports that are currently going on today except one. See if you can guess which one it is. The Olympics have been canceled 6 times. Did you know that? 6 times. Why have they been canceled? Anyone? Yeah, war. Yeah, right. World War I, it was canceled in 1916. They were supposed to be in where? Berlin. World War II, 1940 and 1944, both canceled. 1940 was supposed to be where? Tokyo. 44, London, all canceled, right? Now, why was it there were 6? Well, because remember, back in the day, we used to have Winter and Summer Olympics in the same year. Not anymore, but that's why there were 6 canceled. It was only 3 separate years, but 6 cancellations. This is the first time there's ever been a postponement. So you're looking at this going, Omaha, Omaha! Thank you. Why does it say 2020? Isn't it 2021? Well, there's lots of different reasons for that. I'll bring up a couple. The first is that they're too cheap to change all their signage. You think that's funny? It's true. Think of all the medals, right? All the medals that it takes to do this. And some people are trying to say, oh, it's the Olympiad. It's the Olympiad. Like that matters. It's 2021, people. Nope. I'll let you come up to your own conclusions. Now look at how we've grown. 33 sports, more than 11,000 athletes. So did you know that the medals are not actually what they are? That gold medal, you know how much gold is in it? Less than 1%. 99% of that medal is actually made of silver. Right? What does that tell our athletes? You work hard for a gold medal and all you get is a plated silver medal with some gold on it. Congratulations. Now the silver medal you earned, that's 100% silver. But the bronze, 95% copper and 5% zinc. Not even any copper, or rather copper, not even any bronze in the bronze medal. How silly is that? But that's what they're made of. Did you know that this Olympics costs nearly $20 billion to make? Dave Hansford calls that pocket change, but the rest of us call that real money. The smallest country in population to participate, and I am going to mispronounce this like just about everything I've done today, is Nauru, a Pacific island near Australia. That's nowhere near Turkey, young lady, nowhere near Turkey. Population 11,500 souls, but they didn't win a medal. San Marino, did anybody here been to San Marino? No one? I thought you were Rotary International. San Marino's in Italy. It's actually surrounded entirely by Italy, right? And it's got about 33,000 people. That's almost the same size as Kent, Ohio. They won 3 medals this year. 3. Amazing. I'm getting to that, Mr. Nosy. So the largest country that has never won a medal has 150 million people in it and has participated. Who might that be? No. Thank you, Mr. Childers. Good guess. Next. Good try. No. But you're getting closer, much closer. Bangladesh. 150 million people and no medals. Pretty poor rate of return right there. So there have been 72 countries that have participated and not won medals. Those I mentioned, plus Bolivia, Cambodia, Honduras, Yemen, and Nepal, never won an Olympic medal. So for us, it's an embarrassment of riches. Omaha! Thank you. See if you can tell which are the new sports that were entered this year versus sports that have been in the Olympics at some point in time. Right? Look at the first one. Yes, that is real. Tug of war used to be in the Olympics, and believe it or not, the last time it was around was 1920. And there was a scandal because the Brits had boots that were too big and they got thrown out, but that was part of the scandal in the 1920s. Forget Shoeless Joe, we got big boots Brits. That's how we had it. We had an American win the women's surfing this year, but did you know in 1992 in Barcelona, there was legitimately a thing called solo synchronized swimming? I didn't make that up, that's real. Look it up. Our American baseball players won the silver over Japan, or lost it to Japan this year. They didn't play in live pigeon shooting, which was a real thing in the Olympics, last participated in 1900. So for 2 straight Olympics, that was an Olympic sport. If only Dick Cheney was around, he could have won. If the target was on his friend's face. Okay, softball also won a silver medal this year. They did fantastic. That was a new sport. Well, it was brought back. But roller hockey in 1992 was also a sport that was played. That's a real thing. People on rollerblades playing hockey. That was a real Olympic sport. As was skateboarding this year. Now, who knows what lacan is? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyone? Bueller? Yes, Mr. Earhart.
It's a combat sport where they go at each other with canes, right?
That's exactly right. It's disturbing that you know that. It says it right in the title. It says cane right in there. Jason just added an N. It's fencing with a cane. Who does that? My kids, they're 12. They do that. They could have won the Olympics. I was born in the wrong time, I tell you. This year, skateboarding, most of the winners were under 15 years old. That's true. Rope climbing and sport climbing were also Olympic sports at one point. One of them is a current sport, and that is sport climbing. That's right. Poor Jesse Owens, he could have had another gold medal in rope climbing, and they just discontinued it for 1936 when he won all them medals. This year, there were 18 new events for 474 athletes. 474 more people got to be included in the Olympics. That's awesome. Omaha! Thank you. This person up here is not your sister, but she did compete in the Olympics and she's 66 years old. This year she competed. That's right. She's from Australia and she was an equestrian. And the other young lady is 12 years old. She actually competed. She could have competed last year. She qualified at 11 years old in table tennis. Unfortunately, she lost in her first round, but hey, she competed. The youngest American this year was 15 years old. She was a swimmer. Her name was Katie Grimes, and she won a silver medal in the 800 freestyle, finishing behind who? Yes, Katie Ledecky. The legend, a 15-year-old came within a couple seconds of her. It's amazing. The oldest American this year was 57. So some of you still have a chance. Get up there and get moving. He was an equestrian. He actually, in his past, not this year, won 2 gold medals and a silver and a bronze medal. He originally competed for Australia, but in 2006, he emigrated to the US and has been competing for the US ever since. He won't give a younger kid a chance. That's just the kind of person he is. Omaha! Okay, some of these faces might look familiar to you. First, we have Dr. Spock, not Mr. Spock, all you Trekkies out there. Dr. Spock. How many of people here had Dr. Spock books to raise your kids? That's why they haven't left home. Dr. Spock won a gold medal in crew in the 1924 Olympics in Paris. Pretty awesome. Who recognizes the second guy? Oddjob, that's right. He's from a James Bond movie. His real name is actually Harold Sakata. He played Oddjobs in the movie Goldfinger, and he actually won a silver medal in weightlifting at the 1948 Olympics in London. Pretty awesome. You didn't know that when he was throwing his hat across the room, right? Of course, everybody recognizes General Patton. I won't say any jokes about him from his grave. He'll still strike me down, I'm sure of that. General Patton placed 5th in the pentathlon in the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm. The sports in pentathlon at the time, swimming, riding, fencing, running, and shooting. Sounds a lot like what he did as a person in the military, doesn't it? Trained him pretty well, I'd say. Darth Vader. Darth, yes, may the force be with you too, I got it. Darth Vader's real name was Bob Anderson, not the guy who voiced him. That's James Earl Jones, right? But the guy who actually played him physically, his name was Bob Anderson. He was a British fella, and he was a fencer who represented them in the 1952 Olympics. Did you know that he also trained other Hollywood folks like Errol Flynn in fencing? That's real. And he played played this Darth Vader character all the way through. Just recently passed a few years ago. So did you know Darth Vader, a British Olympian? Go figure. Omaha! So we have some local folks here, right? OH. Oh my goodness, that was weak. OH. There we go. All right. Thank you, alum. We got a lot of Ohio folks here. Mr. Organ asked, is there anybody from Kent who won? Good question. You look it up yourself on the Google. Here's all the people that participated. And you'll see several people from Ohio have won stuff. I'm not going to point them out because I got limited time. Omaha! If you don't get that joke, then this is going to stink. All right, look at this up here. We see some famous people, right? Our own Bill Childers. Look who that is, that handsome young mulleted fella down there. He's a cousin of Bill. And if you look in the Record Courier, is that right, Bill? You'll see a lovely article about the two where Bill is attempting to tackle him and it does not go well. Joe Schroeder, pardon me, is on the men's rugby team. And he's about 6'5", and he really is probably closer to 250, but he punches like a brick house. There he is right there. They did okay this year. They didn't win a medal, but they represented the U.S. with pride. Also pictured, Kara Winger, U.S. javelin. Well, she's not from Ohio. Why is she here? Because Mr. David Myers knows her from Purdue. She participated in her 4th Olympics, and she was honored to be the flag bearer for this year's closing ceremonies. How awesome is that? And David provided a quote that she wrote, and it says, "The important thing in the Olympics is not winning, but taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering, but fighting well." Here to Kara Winger. Anybody else have connections that they didn't make me aware of? Too late. All right, Omaha! Team USA, how awesome. Look at all the lovely ladies up there. They carried the men this time around, I'll tell you. 66 medals won by the women from the US. That's more than 58% of the medals won by our women who did it. Congratulations to them. The U.S. has won the most medals in 16 out of the 28 competitions since 1896, including the last 7 consecutive times. The U.S. has medaled in 51 of the 53 sports offered at some point in time in the history of the Olympics. Can anybody name the 2 sports we haven't done anything well in for the medals? Lacan, no. Good try. No, good try, but wrong. Curling, no. Table tennis, look at our district governor getting it right. Hey, go ahead, district governor, give yourself a round of applause. One other sport, and I'll give you a hint, we haven't qualified since 1998. It's a team sport with goals. And when we participated, we went 0-6 with a negative 47 goal differential. We stunk. What sport is that? Soccer, no. Rugby, no. We just participated in rugby. Didn't you hear that about Childers' cousin? Water polo, no. They actually did pretty good this year. Handball is correct. Who said that? All right, go Dave Myers. Give Dave a round of applause for being the 73rd person to finally get it right. Omaha! Let me close out with looking ahead. Look at those beautiful pictures I picked up from the internet. 2022, Beijing. 2024, Paris. 2026, Milan Cortina. 2028, LA, bringing it back home. And 2032 in Brisbane. The Olympics have been hosted on all continents except for 2, Africa and Antarctica. South America has hosted the Olympics once. When was that? Yes, Rio 2016 there, right? Just 5 years ago. And how many times has the US hosted the Olympics? More. 5, more. Lower. Now we're getting hot and cold. 8. We have hosted 8 times. And I have hosted this presentation once. Thank you.
What was your name again?
Scott Cavendish.
Scott Cavendish. Thank you very much. I don't know about the rest of you. I had a really wonderful time listening to Scott. It appears that he's left the building and that Todd Kamenash has replaced him. So as you know, Todd, one of the traditions of this club is that we have a responder to our programs. And today's responder is Lang Kennedy.
Thank you very much, Scott. Wonderful presentation. Knowing that I was doing the invocation and then doing the response, if I was thinking about it, I should have done the response at the invocation time and the invocation now. Also, it would enhance your presentation if you could demonstrate some of the events. Skateboarding comes to mind, wall climbing, you could probably arrange that. But in all seriousness, it's always nice to be part of you in these famous presentations. Good job. Excellent.
Well, we have a few minutes before, we really ripped right through the meeting today. And because we have a few minutes, instead of releasing you early, I just want to see if anybody has any happy bucks.